Hello, and welcome back to Gunfighter Life. As always, I am your host, Michael Milito. First and foremost, I am a Christian. I make no apologies for that. I believe that the Word of God is true. I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. I try and fail often to do what God tells me to do. First and foremost in my life, this podcast is no different. You certainly don't have to be a Christian to listen, but just know that I come at everything from a Christian worldview and a Christian perspective. This podcast is no different. A little bit about me. I did this podcast because I think I have been blessed to come at this from a good first-hand perspective in a lot of different ways. First and foremost, I grew up hunting and fishing in the backwoods of the southeastern United States, if you're listening from outside the United States. Grew up, and I've been blessed to shoot from a very early age. I started my first formal shooting competition in 1998. I've competed in everything from precision rifle to action pistol, USPSA, IDPA. If you don't know what those are, don't worry about it. But anything from precision rifle, Olympic-style rifle, to basically drag racing with a pistol. And I've been blessed to win more competitions than I can remember. State championships, regional championships. I've placed pretty high, but never won a national competition. So a little bit about my shooting background, my hunting background. Even before I started competition shooting, I started hunting. I've hunted everything from gray squirrels on the East Coast to whitetail on the East Coast to mule deer on the West Coast, and bear and wolf and elk and all kinds of exotic species, fallow deer, European deer, axis, Asian deer, all different manner of foreign species. I've been blessed to hunt and harvest and professionally hunt for and guide for. Not many people in today's day and age can say that they've been a professional hunter and guide, but I am one. I've been a professional shooting instructor for many years, FBI certified, NRA certified, a bunch of other three-letter government agencies certified. I joined the Marine Corps at 17. I did 2 combat tours in Iraq. I finished my time out as an urban warfare instructor and shooting instructor for the Marine Corps, teaching small arms and urban warfare and desert warfare under what was called Mojave Viper at the time. I don't know what they call it now, if anything. I also served in the U.S. Army, both full-time and part-time National Guard combat MOSs. And by God's grace, I got through all that alive. I served as a police officer, LAPD for several years, regular assignments and fugitive recovery. And by God's grace, again, He got me back in one piece. Up until very recently, I was the commander of a tactical team, an SRT team, a special response team, basically a SWAT team in a very big metropolitan area. I won't get into that, but if I said what it was, you would know what I was talking about. I also worked at a nuclear test site in Nevada as a firearms and tactics instructor out there. All that to say that God has blessed me, and I do mean God. None of that was on my own strength. Everything I've accomplished is a gift from Him, and I hope to pass some of that knowledge on to you. Today's episode is going to be entitled A Guide's Rifle. So I quit my job recently. I resigned to come out to the country because I missed hunting and being out in the woods and just having time out alone. I was working a lot of hours in a big city and making a lot of money, but I'm a pretty simple guy. So I kind of quit to start my own thing out in the country and work as a professional hunter and guide in Tennessee on a giant game ranch with a bunch of different species, exotic species of animals, and all kinds of hunting and ranching, and start my own shooting instruction and hunting school. I'll get into how to contact me on that at more in the end, but you can follow me at Good Shepherd Training on Instagram or Facebook, Good Shepherd Shooting School, or you can always just email me. My real life email is my last name, Milito, Milito 227 at gmail.com. Milito 227 at gmail.com. Feel free to reach out to me for anything. If you have any gun questions, I'll try and answer them. If you're like, hey, I'm trying to decide between a 270 and a 30-06, or if it's a hunting question or if it's a tactical question, I'm trying to decide between a 12-inch SBR and a 10.5-inch SBR and direct impingement, piston, whatever. I'm just rattling stuff off. If you got a gun question or anything like that, I like to answer them. I like to I like for my audience to reach out, and so if you have anything like that, you can reach out to me. Follow me if you want updates, anything like that. You can also direct message me on the Instagram that I gave you, Good Shepherd Training. Anyway, get into today's topic. We're going to talk about a guide's rifle. So I've hunted everything all over. My go-to rifle right now as a professional guide is a Kimber Adirondack. You can look that up and see what it is. But it's a very light, handy rifle. It weighs under 5 pounds. It's a very good rifle. It's an accurate rifle. It shoots under 1 inch. With the caveat, it shoots under 1 inch for the first 3 rounds. After that, it'll start stringing shots because it gets very hot very quickly because it's a light rifle. But, as a professional hunter and guide, I've never needed more than 3 rounds. So for that purpose, it's fine. I'm not out there doing tactical shooting with that rifle. It's chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor. I'll be honest, I didn't really want it in 6.5 Creedmoor. I know that's a new hot round, but I kind of wanted it in 308, but it was such a coveted rifle at the time, it was hard to find it at all. I mean, I couldn't find it anywhere. There was one gun shop that had one in 6.5 Creedmoor, so that's what I got it in. And, I don't regret it because I bought a bunch of ammo for it at the time because I figured I kind of foresaw ammo getting worse, and especially if the elections went not the way that would be good for ammo. I'm not getting into politics, but they went in such a way that it made ammo harder to get. So I got plenty before the crunch happened, and so I got it in 6.5 Creedmoor, and that's the rifle that I have other rifles for other things, and guns are tools, but for my go-to hunting rifle for anything, and we have all kinds of things on the ranch up to including North American bison and giant elk and whatever. And that's my go-to rifle, especially for guiding, because as a guide, I'm generally not the one to shoot the animal first thing. I'm generally the one to finish it off or get a follow-up shot if the client does not make a good shot. Or just dispatching things on the ranch. I do sometimes have to shoot deer or cull deer, which, taking an injured deer out or a sick deer out or sheep or something like that. So that all happens. And the 6.5 does that just fine, the 6.5 Creedmoor. The 308 would have done it just fine too, but the 6.5 is a fine round, especially in such a light rifle. It is kind of nice to have less recoil than it would have had in 308. My go-to is the Winchester XP round, so that's one of their rounds. Ballistic tip round, Winchester XP. 6.5 is known for having good sectional density. If you don't know what that is, it just means that it flies through the air well, it bucks the wind well, and it penetrates pretty well. Sectional density and ballistic coefficient are pretty high on that round in general. If I'm shooting something a little bit heavier, I do have Berger 144 grain that shoot pretty close to the same point of aim, point of impact, which is a blessing. And I have that gun topped off with a Leopold 1.5 to 5. I don't remember, it's a VX whatever, VX3 maybe, I think. It may be another VX variant, but it's a 1.5 to 5. And a lot of people would see that and say, holy crap, I can't believe you'd get a 6.5 Creedmoor, because most people think of that as a 1,000-yard cartridge, which it is. And top it with a 1.5 to 5. But I'll probably do another episode on common hunting mistakes or common shooter mistakes. But most people, in my opinion, miss far more game because they have way too much magnification. I have hardly ever seen somebody where they didn't have enough magnification, like where they were like, oh, I could have got that shot if I'd have had more magnification. Way more common is they have that scope cranked up way too high, and a deer comes out running, or a deer comes out at 50 yards or 30 yards or even less, and then they've got this giant magnified scope and they can't find the deer in it, and when they do, all they see is a giant patch of deer. They can't tell where they're aiming, they get a bad shot, or the deer is moving and they just can never keep on it with that high magnification. So for me, I would have gotten in a straight 1 power, but what it came in with the light scope that I was looking for is a 1.5 to 5. I can shoot with both eyes open with that scope. I can shoot on moving game with that scope. I can find animals very quickly. Especially, I would advise you, if you're hunting or guiding, you find the game with your binoculars. and you shoot the game in your scope. Now, you don't try and find game in your scope. That's a bad strategy. So I would advise not to do that. So find the animal, identify the animal, make sure it's the right animal in your binoculars, and then get the shot with your scope. And if you can't do it with a 5 power out to 500 or 600 yards, you probably can't do it. If you can't make the shot with 2.5 power or 4 power or a 5 power or even higher, I'm not saying never, but in general, you probably weren't going to make the shot anyway. Because more magnification doesn't make you any steadier or more accurate of a shooter. It just helps you see the target better. And if you can't see a deer-sized target at 500 yards with a 5X, you probably weren't going to see it anyway. I'm not saying there's not time for more magnification. There certainly is. But in general, in my experience as a professional hunter and guide all over the country, less magnification is better. So I chose to top it with a 1.5 to 5, and I think that was a very good choice for that rifle. And again, it's a Leopold. Those things are built like tanks. And I have used different mounts in the past, but I'm very happy that I got the mount that I did. It's a DNZ mount. DNZ made for that Kimber Adirondack rifle, and it's a one-piece, monolithic, solid base, which kind of strengthens the gun in the action. So it's as solid a scope mount as I've ever seen. Nothing's perfect, but it's a one big monolithic bottom piece and then just the 2 top attachment parts, which is far less moving parts than, say, the older, Leopold style bases, which work fine. I mean, I've used those for years too, and they work just fine. But this is simpler. It seems to be very simple and very ruggedly built, the DNZ mount. And on one of my first professional hunts, my sling broke and that thing went flying and landed hard, and I confirmed 0 on it, and it held 0 just fine. So I'm recommending those DNZ mounts. And in fact, that when I went, even if I had to wait a little bit longer, I'd stick with the DNZ mounts. They seem to be very solidly built and very rugged. So I went with a very light rifle and a light scope and heavy base, because that's the thing that's probably going to throw you off 0. And if your gun's not zeroed, you might as well not have it until you can zero it again, because it's not good for much if you're not going to hit what you're aiming at, especially as a hunter. So that's kind of the setup. Is zeroed at 50 yards. It's dead on, just again about, should be dead on again between 200 and 225. And here's the deal. I hunt any way that I'll hunt in the best way to get the job done. But in general, my preferred way is to spot and stalk or still hunt. So I don't generally sit in a stand and have a feeder go off and have the deer come up there at a known distance. What I generally do is walk through the forest and try and stalk up and walk up on game. And I generally get within 200 yards of the game if I can, especially because it's generally forested area, not open fields. We do have open fields and things, but generally I try and stalk up on an animal in the forest by walking quietly, finding the one that I want and walking up to it, and getting the client on it and getting a good shot. And even when I was out west hunting on public land in Idaho, which is where I did a lot of my hunting for mule deer and elk and different things, even on public land like that, I might spot the animal a lot farther off. But in general, you get within 300 yards of your game by stalking up to it. So that's the kind of hunting that I prefer and that I like and that I professionally guide and do. Being able to, use fieldcraft and skill to stalk up on an animal. There's nothing wrong with if you feel comfortable and you're sure you can get a shot at a longer distance. But I like walking up on the game and stalking it through the woods and doing all that stuff. So that's the kind of hunting that I do, and that's the kind of guiding that I generally do. If somebody's got physical limitations or whatever, I can hunt them however. We can do still hunting, which is another favorite thing to do. You can maybe I'll do a different podcast on that. But in general, that's kind of hunting and guiding that I'm set up for, and that's my go-to rifle, is that lightweight, Kimber. It's a Kimber Adirondack and 6.5 Creedmoor. It's got a very lightweight sling on it. It's got the DNZ mounts. It's got a Leopold 1.5 to 5. And that's my go-to professional hunting and guiding rifle. I got it when I lived out west and I was doing a lot more walking in rugged, hard terrain. And it's a super ultra lightweight rifle. It weighs under 5 pounds. And that's a great thing. Like I said, now I'm a professional full-time hunter and guide. And, I take care of a ranch and hunt and guide on that ranch. But I'm a professional hunter and guide, and that's my go-to rifle. Very accurate, very effective. It's just a great all-around rifle. You can carry it all day and hunt all day. And if I do my part, that rifle will do its part. And what more could you ask for on a rifle? So that episode's going to be entitled The Guide's Rifle. Now, all that being said, there are some things that I did not prefer about that rifle.
Turn right onto Tennessee 225 North.
So, anyway, apologize for the map quest getting in the way of the awesome production quality. But basically, if you didn't know, I basically talk into my iPhone when I have time, which right now is driving home from dropping off some stuff to the taxidermist to get mounted. Fallow deer, axis deer, a couple of other things. So anyway, back to what I was talking about. That being said, the Guide's rifle, I've recently gotten the rifle to replace it for a couple of different reasons. So if you want to hear about that one, stay tuned for a future episode. Anyway, I hope this has been informative and helpful, and maybe it will shape the way that you pick out your go-to hunting rifle. Even if you're not a professional guide or hunter, I would say the basic theme of this is get something that you can carry if you plan on walking around, because you'll carry it a lot more than you'll shoot it. Get something simple. Simpler is generally better, especially when it comes to hunting, things that can go wrong. I'd say keep those themes in mind. Get a caliber that you can practice with proficiently, one that's not cost prohibitive, and two that doesn't have so much recoil that you're just going to beat yourself up. So I would say keep that in mind as a general theme of your hunting rifle, because I don't care what the caliber is, it's more important to have good shot placement on game. I've seen, even this weekend in our past hunts that we've done, I see plenty of game that did not drop right away with Magnum calibers. I should say I saw one that did not drop right away with a Magnum caliber because it was a poor shot. So, keep that in mind. A good shot is better than a big caliber. And if you have a big giant Magnum caliber, I would say you're probably not going to practice enough with it. And if you don't practice enough with it, it's a less chance you're going to get good shot placement. So I would say get a caliber that you can practice with, one with cost that's not cost prohibitive, and two that's not going to beat you up so hard.
Continue straight.
That's not going to beat you up so hard that you can't practice with it. Like I said, if you have any questions, any gun questions, any kind of consulting that you need, get a hold of me. My real life email is Milito, Milito 227@gmail.com. And you can follow me on Instagram, Good Shepherd Training. If you want to get pictures of hunts and past hunts and things that I'm doing, I try and post on there hunts that I've done, successfully guiding. Maybe just pretty picture of nature, whatever. But if you want to keep up to date on that kind of stuff, maybe shooting school, shooting instruction that I'm doing. If you want to come on a fully guided hunt, or one of the main reasons I wanted to come out here and do this is because I want to teach people how to hunt. So if hunting is something to you that you have never gotten into, and you want to learn how to feed yourself and your family and take part in, something that we've been doing for so long as a human, it's just, I think that any man ought to know how to hunt and provide for himself and his family. And it can be a daunting thing if you've never done it. So if you want to get into it, if you want to learn, if you're willing to learn, reach out to me. I'd love to teach you how to do it. You don't even need guns or ammo. I can provide all that stuff. I can start at the very basics, gun safety, and teach you how to do the basic things like dress warm in the winter and stalk in the woods and walk quietly, and how to work scent, and how to use the wind to your advantage, and how to use terrain to your advantage, and how to butcher game and cook game and all those things. If you want to learn that, you can reach out to me again through email, through Instagram. Good Shepherd Training. I'll also put a link to my website in the show notes for this. I think it's also on the main podcast show notes. But if you want to click on the website and visit me there, you can also message me there on the website.
Turn left.
So, as always, thanks for listening to Gunfighter Life, and have a blessed day.